Okay, Wildcats, today we're looking at February 7th, solve, graph, check all functions on page 53. If you would, update your table of contents. All right, now your table of contents are updated. Let's take a look at our examples. There's no notes for today, okay? All right, and let me move the camera up a little bit. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. Ta-da. All right, now solve algebraic check. So the first thing we look is what we have squared. So that tells me we need to subtract the 2x and subtract the 1 from both sides. Okay, so we have 2x squared minus 2x. The 1 minus 1 is 0. Those are 0, so that equals 0. Okay, here it looks like we can factor out a 2, and actually a 2x. So we have 2x, which leaves 1x minus 1 equal to 0. So we set 2x equal to 0 and x minus 1 equal to 0. So divide by 2, x equals 0, and add 1 to both sides, x equals 1. Now we need to check. X equals 0. So we substitute 0 into the original equation, so that's 2 times 0 squared plus 1 equals 2 times 0 plus 1. Well, that's 0, so 1 equals 1, so that checks. Okay, now let's check x equals 1. So that's 2 times 1 squared plus 1 equals 2 times 1 plus 1. Well, that's 2 plus 1 is 3. That's 2 plus 1 is 3, so that checks. All right, so now let's graph. Okay, so we need to graph the left side and the right side and find the intersection. So to graph the left side, we know we move the vertex up 1, and just so we understand what's what, I'm going to graph the left side in orange and the right side in blue. Okay, so now we graph by direction. Now we know for a quadratic the directions are -2, 4, -1, 1, h, k, 1, 1, and 2, 4. But we also see that we're multiplying by 2, so that's times 2. So that's 8, 2, 2, 8. So from the vertex we go left 2 up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Left 1 up 1, 2. And then to the right 1 up 2, and to the right 2 up 8. Okay. Now the right side is just a linear function, so we start at +1. And we go, now technically 2x plus 1, that's actually divided by 1. So the slope is 2 divided by 1. So we go up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1, up 2 to the right 1. And we technically 2 divided by 1 is equivalent to -2 divided by -1. So we go down 2 to the left 1, 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 down 2 to the left 1. So you can see here that they do intersect, and they intersect at when x equals 0, and they intersect when x equals 1, which verifies our solution of 0 and 1. Okay, so let's move on to example 2. All right, so here we want to see if we can factor. So 2 parentheses. So we know 2x and 1x. And we need to find all the combinations that make 3 and combine to be -5. So let's see. So -1 times -3 is +3. And -1 minus 3 is -4. That doesn't work. -2 doesn't work. -3. Wait a second. Made a mistake. Almost forgot. And this is where you have to be careful. You have to multiply the first number by 2 and the second number by 1. So this should actually be 2 times -1 plus 1 times -3. And that changes things because that's -2 minus 3 is -5. So your combinations are -1 and -3. Now, the -1 goes with the 2, so the -1's right here. And the -3 goes with the 1, so the -3 is right here. And you might double check to make sure this works by drawing a box. 2x minus 3 and x minus 1. So x times 2x is 2x squared. X times -3 is -3x. -1 times 2 is -2x. -1 times -3 is a +3. You have 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. That works, so this is factored. All right, so then 2x minus 3 equal to 0. X minus 1 equal to 0. So add 3 to both sides, you get 2x equals 3. And divide by 2. So x equals 3 divided by 2, or 1.5. Here, add 1 to both sides, x equals 1. Now, to graph this one, you're going to graph the left side and the right side. Now, we'll actually graph the right side first because the right side is just 0, so you have a horizontal line at 0. Now, the left side is a little bit more difficult in that you need to find the vertex. Okay? To find the vertex, h equals -b, so -5 divided by 2 times a, which is 2 times 2. So that equals h equals 5/4. Now we need to find, and in this case, it's going to be easier to graph and find the decimal. So 5 divided by 4 is 1.25. And then k, you substitute 5/4 in for x, so that's equal to 2 times 5 divided by 4 squared minus 5 times 5/4 plus 3. So k equals -0.13. And really, I should have just made this simpler by rounding one decimal place. So 1.25 is 1.3. And -0.13 is -0.1. So we're just approximating a vertex. So we go to the right 1.3, which is about right here. And negative, it's about right there. Now, we can find an easy point in that the y-intercept, when x is 0, your y will be 3. So we have a y-intercept at 0, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we know we have a point about equal distance from that. So about right here. And so when you sketch the graph, you can see that it crosses about at 1, and it crosses, my graph's a little off, 1.5. Okay. Now, for some reason, I thought graphing was so much fun that I forgot to check. So let's come over here and check. So we have 1.5 first. Okay, so let's check that. So that's 2 times 1.5 squared minus 5 times 1.5 plus 3 equals 0. And when you plug that into your calculator, 2 parentheses 1.5 squared minus 5 times 1.5 plus 3 is 0 equals 0. That checks. Now let's check x equals 1. So that's 2 times 1 squared minus 5 times 1 plus 3 equals 0. Well, that's 2 minus 5 plus 3, 0. Well, 2 and 3 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. So 0 equals 0, and it checks. Okay. All right, let's take a look at example 3. Try not to skip the check this time. All right, so first step is we're going to square both sides. So then you get x minus 1 equals, I'm going to rewrite this as negative x plus 1. Now, the next step would be to, I'm going to put a 1 there, add 1x to both sides. So you get 2x, and I'm actually going to add 1 to both sides. So that cancels equals 2. Divide both sides by 2, x equals 1. So let's check. X equals 1. So the square root of 1 minus 1 equals the square root of 1 minus 1. Well, the square root of 0 equals the square root of 0, so 0 equals 0, so it checks. All right, and again, we're going to graph the left side and the right side. I'm going to graph the left side in orange and the right side in blue. So we graph by direction. Now with square root, our directions are first move the vertex, so we go to the right one. And we know with square roots, it's HK 1, 1, 4, 2, 9, 3. So we go to the right one, up 1, to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up 1, 2, 3. All right. Now we graph by direction with here, so we know that our directions are HK, and let's move that vertex. Now, again, I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of negative x plus 1. That tells me we go left 1, but because of the square root and the negative being in the square root, we actually have to reflect first. So we actually go to the reflect over the y-axis. So here's actually our point. Okay, and then now we have direction. So 1, 1, 4, 2, 9, 3. Now because the negative's inside the square root, we have to multiply the x's by negative 1. So that's -1, -4, -9. So we go to the left 1, up 1, to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2, and to the right 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up 1, 2, 3. Now you can see here that they both intersect at x equals 1, which checks our solution by graphing. All right, now let's take a look at example 4. All right, here we need to isolate the cube root, so we subtract 6 from both sides, so we get the cube root of x minus 1 equals 1. We cube both sides, so then you get x minus 1 equals 1 cubed is 1. Add 1, x equals 2. All right, so now let's check. Okay, so now that's the cube root of 2 minus 1 plus 6 equals 7. So 2 minus 1 is 1. The cube root of 1 is 1 plus 6 equals 7. 7 equals 7, so that checks. Okay, now again, we're going to graph the left side, and we're going to graph the right side. Now the right side graphing is easy. Let's graph that first. That's just a horizontal line at 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now the left side we graph by directions. Now we know the cube root, it's -8, -2, -1, -1, HK, and let's go ahead and move that. So we go to the right one up 6. So we go to the right one up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 1, and 8, 2. So here we go to the left 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Down 2. Now we go to the left 1, down 1, to the right 1, up 1, to the right 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up 2. You can see here that they intersect when x equals 2, which checks and verifies that your solution is x equals 2. Okay, so with that, if you would, finish up your examples and start working on an assignment, and have a wonderful Wildcat day.